In this video, we're going to learn about a new flow control statement called a switch statement. Switch statements are very similar to if-else statements, but they are slightly limited in what they can do. So you can do more with an if-else statement than you can with a switch statement. However, a switch statement, if you use one, it's more efficient and it saves space compared to having to create a complete if-else statement. So if you can use a switch statement, you probably should. So to create a switch statement, we're going to start by typing in the keyword switch. And what we'll do is, in fact, let's talk about the application first. What we're going to do is we're going to replicate a vending machine. So when you go to a vending machine, you type in a number or letter, and that corresponds to the beverage or the food item you want to purchase. Well, that's what we'll do here. So we'll have the letter A represent Coke. We'll have the letter B represent Pepsi. We can have C represent Sprite and Sprite. And then D is for Dr. Pepper. And then we'll just have something healthy and make letter E represent water. So here we are. Here's a switch statement, and we're going to create the switch statement that basically says, depending on which letter we select, it will give us a particular beverage. So I'm just going to say switch, and what you do next is you type in a variable. This variable is going to be what's going to get compared or verified during the switch statement. So if this variable ends up being the value of A, then we're going to result in a Coke. If it's B, we'll get Pepsi, etc., etc. I'll show you how this works. Inside the switch statement, you need to create cases which specify what will happen depending on which value X assumes. So the case, if X ends up being the letter A, will be printing a result that says you have purchased a Coke. If X ends up being getting assigned the letter B, then we'll get you have purchased a Pepsi. And I'll pause the video and do the other three really quickly, so hold on. Alright, we are back, and here we have all 5 of the possible cases. So let's go ahead and assign a value to X. And by the way, there's still going to be one more error message that we have even after we give X a value, but I'll get to that in a minute. So let's create an instance of X, or of a string, and assign that to X. And we'll say that we're going to buy a Coke, so we're going to make X assign the letter A. And so normally what this would do is it would assign the string A to the variable, and that would in turn flow into a switch statement right here, and it would select a case where in fact it is matching the string A. And then we would get the printed result over here. Unfortunately though, the switch statement has one more thing we have to take care of before this will work properly. So if we have X be equal to A, in fact, let's make this a bit more descriptive. Let's call this drink type. And yeah, let's do that instead. So drink type equals A, and that's going to give this result right here. If we do B, it'll be Pepsi, C is Sprite, D is Dr. Pepper, and E is water. But what if we type in the letter F? Well, that means that nothing's going to happen here. And unfortunately, a switch statement, as we have it written right now, it can't compensate, or it can't handle that kind of input. So what you do with a switch statement is you'll put something called a default, and we'll just say print you didn't select a valid drink. So what this means is if we enter F or G or H, I, J, K, L, and anything besides A, B, C, D, or E, default, then it'll output this result just as a default. So this acts kind of like an else statement when you have an if-else statement. If none of these cases match, it'll automatically do whatever is in the default position right here. So unfortunately, this playground is taking forever to load or to run, so I'm going to restart this and then be right back. Let me pause the video. Alright, we are back, and as we can see, the printout, "You have purchased Coke," has appeared. What happens if we assign B? Well, obviously it'll say you've purchased a Pepsi, Sprite, and Dr. Pepper, and water. And if we put something that is not listed as a potential case, let's go with F, it'll get you do not select a valid drink. Like so. Now what happens if instead of doing a lowercase a, we do an uppercase A? Remember, in Swift, capitalization matters, and unfortunately none of these cases have capital A as a potential option. What you could do is you could just copy this and do it again, but put a capital A, and if that's done like so, then it'll say you've purchased a Coke. But unfortunately, you'd have to do the same thing with B, C, D, and E, which takes up space in your code and also takes up your own time to do it. So instead what you can do is you can convert the drink type variable into lowercase. If you remember from an earlier video, we learned about a method that is applied to certain strings, or any string really, and it is called lowercase right there. And so now, even if we have a capital A up here, and even if this is a capital A, the value that appears in the switch statement is automatically going to be converted into a lowercase version of itself. And so now, even if we have uppercase letter or lowercase letter, it'll still refer to this case right here because it is defaulting to a lowercase version. So if we put the letter E in there, it's water. If you do a capital version of E, it still says you have purchased water. And that's all I wanted to go over for switch statements. In my opinion, switch statements are incredibly easy to use and understand. You just need to make sure that your case matches. And also, one more thing. If you want to do a numeric value like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then what you can also do is just do that. It's like so, 3, 4, 5. You don't need this lowercase thing for numbers. And what you would do is just do 1 for Coke, 2 for Pepsi, and oh, and here we go. I almost just realized. There we go. 2 for Pepsi, 3 for Sprite, and you get the idea. So that's all for this video. I hope it was informative, and I'll see you in the next one.